Hey, welcome back. How y'all doing? So today's going to be a slightly short Sunday Comics. We're going to basically talk about Wonder Woman 15. We're going to talk about Superman and Lois, and we're going to talk about Arcane. Arcane's going to be the majority of the conversation, but let's start off with Wonder Woman. I know a lot of people aren't liking this Wonder Woman. They're actually saying that it's degrading the character. I'm not a huge fan of Tom King's interpretation of most of the characters that I like. I think his best work has been, I think it was Vision. Tom King and Tom Tyler are two writers whose their vision of characters are not my vision of those characters. And it's not an entertaining difference. It's an actual, you feel like they're breaking the lore of the character to where the writer doesn't have your trust. And we'll get into that when we get into Arcane as well. That being said, I am not one of those who hate this issue or this arc. There's a backup here that sets up a certain character's return. That's definitely going to happen. It might make him younger. It might make him a slightly superpowered character. Who knows? But he is definitely coming back. The issue itself is Wonder Woman singing a lullaby to her newly born son with Steve, even though it was born unnaturally. But that's a different story. You have each of the Wonder Girls, which one of the Wonder Womans now has been demoted back to a Wonder Girl, and one villain has been promoted up to a Wonder Girl, taking out the finances of the organization, the secret shadow government organization that killed Steve Trevor. I know that some people are saying that this is Wonder Woman at her lowest. I don't think so. She's acting like a mom. She's acting like a queen. And they make it very clear that they're not killing the one character that they shouldn't kill. They make it very clear he's not actually dead. So, is this Wonder Woman going further than she would in most normal arcs? Yes. Is this as far as the New 52 or Injustice version of Wonder Woman would go? No. There's worse depictions of Wonder Woman than this. And the writing here is strong. The problem is not the writing. The problem is not the characterization. The problem is not the art. The problem is I don't trust Tom King. So I don't trust him to pay this off without permanently damaging the character or their lore. So for me, the knife's edge is not the quality of the comic, because Tom King can write. He can write dialogue, he can write character, he can write intrigue. The problem is, will he leave Wonder Woman where he found her? Will he make sure that it's our Wonder Woman that we get back, and not some twisted interpretation based on his, life or imagination? Speaking of bad interpretations, let's talk about Superman and Lois. There have been many bad interpretations of Superman, including in Supergirl, the TV series. This last season of Superman and Lois has been a redemption of all of that. Superman has been acting more and more like Superman every episode. But there is a problem here, which this Superman has a human heart, which means eventually he won't be Superman. Now, initially that was like 1,000 years from now, whatever. Now it's like, oh, he's going to have the lifespan of a man, so he might die. So this is very quickly becoming an Elsewhere story, where I don't want Superman to be an Elsewhere character. I want this Superman to be the main character in his universe. I want him to be the guy. I think Tom Hetland is doing a great job. I think it's his name. He's really good as Superman. And the lady playing Lois is perfect as Lois Lane. I think sometimes they give her too much agency, if that's possible, because sometimes she's not only smarter than Superman, but she's better at almost everything than Superman, which it's fine when it's Clark. She's supposed to be better than Clark, but Superman as the character is supposed to have super thinking, super acting, super lying. Like, he's supposed to have everything. So it's like, it's just, anyway, this is not that kind of Superman. This Superman is very mortal, very human. I think this Superman is definitely more Clark than Kal-El, most definitely. They're setting up Lex Luthor to be our Lex Luthor, which is great. They already had a version of Jimmy, that's the Jimmy from the comics, which was an improvement. I like the actor who played Jimmy Olsen in the Supergirl series. The problem is that he was too cool and too dapper and too handsome. The character playing this Jimmy was more Jimmy, which is great. And I don't think it was the actor's fault. The previous actor who played Jimmy was built, but you can have a muscular dork. Like, believe me, you can have a muscular dork. The problem is that he played him too cool and too suave. And I think that was directing, like I said. I think that was the direction of the show. That was where the show was trying to do. Whatever. But this episode was great. It set up Superman to face off against the supersuit Lex Luthor. I hope it's a green suit. I know it doesn't look good. I don't care. I want it to be a green power suit. Superman's going to end, this one, and it's going to be sad because I feel that this Superman never got, both in the show and entertainment-wise, never got the credit and the accolades. I don't even know what I want to say. He never got the credit, and he never really got the spotlight that he deserved. Let's put it that way. Okay, now let's move to Arcane. I've been emotionally devastated for days. For absolutely days. That's why I haven't posted anything. Do I like the final episode? Let's start off with, do I like the season? Yes, this is a good season. Some people online are saying it's a terrible season. That's not true. This is good writing. If this was any other show and we weren't comparing it to the first season of Arcane, this would be a great show. But the first season of Arcane was excellent. It was great. It had a slow burn in the beginning that became a fire and an inferno toward the end. It was amazing. This show, this season, in all of its acts, each act, at least with the first two acts, seemed to be its own storyline. So each act was its own season. And then the final 3 episodes, Act 3, each episode was its own season, which meant we missed out on a lot of character development. So it was not, the endings that came were not justified by the end of the season. And I think that's what most people are feeling. You know, when people are talking about pacing, I've talked about it myself. It's not just how fast it's going, it's that there's no development. It's setup, payoff, and there's no breathing time in between. There's no development time in between. There's no attachment time in between. So if we didn't already love the characters from the first season, it wouldn't work. Because we know the characters from the first season, it works. I think you could watch the first 3 as its own arc, the second 3 as its own arc, and then you could watch each individual episode as its own thing on the last 3 episodes. So once you put it all together, it doesn't work because there's integral pieces to the plot that are missing. Do I think that makes it bad? No, it's better than 90% of television that's ever been on TV. It still puts it in the top 10% of shows of all time. I laughed every episode. I cried every episode. I was excited every episode. This is a great show. Every episode had a music video for some unknown freaking reason. Some of the videos worked, some of them didn't. And it does leave a lot open. The creator says that he's not done. And we're going to get into spoiler territory here. I think they are done. And until we actually see new shows or new material or something from the writer, Jinx is dead. And that to me was the biggest betrayal of this series. Everyone else could die, but Jinx had to live. And the fact that they killed her and they had set up her redemption arc and then killed her anyway is a massive betrayal to the audience from the writers. That wasn't cool. Don't get me wrong, there are other ways she could have died, but I think the worst thing they could have done is just have Warwick show out of nowhere and have that family dynamic happen again for a third or fourth or whatever time. It wasn't set up, and they had already done that. They already dealt with that narratively. And Vander was shown as being dead anyway, that his memories were gone. So Warwick as his own should have just been instead of having that giant big guy that didn't even fit in the story, they should have had Warwick be the one to pick up the shell, and he should have been the unstoppable force that they couldn't deal with, and then either he get killed or wiped out as the story ends, or more appropriately, he could have actually ended up having that fight scene with them, not have him show up out of nowhere, have him building his way up, because what he has to deal with is his hatred toward them or his consequences toward them, because maybe he remembers them even though he doesn't remember the Vander stuff. He remembers these people being there and messing with him, with whatever Warwick is. And that would have been interesting. And so you could still have that mixture, and you could have Victor name him Warwick and say, oh, this is Warwick, this isn't Vander, and then have them have that same fight and have it be them trying to save the monster instead of them trying to save each other, and then one of them die. There's ways to pay it off. There's ways to have justified fight stuff, but they didn't do it. Another place where they kind of dropped the ball is with Mel. They had an awesome chance to have Mel, since Mel's not even canon anyway, let's have her turn into Caitlyn and have that shadow power to mask that they've been setting up, have it pay off by when the bullet goes and it bounces back and the shield works, have that shield be Mel, and then Caitlyn walks out. And then you can have everything play out how it did, but you have mother and daughter fighting each other, so it makes more sense because you never developed the mother and daughter relationship between Caitlyn and Bessa. I think all those are things that could have been fixed if they had stretched out the plotting, if they had either added 3 more episodes to the season, or if they had just divided up the seasons into 2 or 3 seasons. Divide up the season into 2 seasons. I think that would have been fine. But they didn't. They rushed everything, and so there are beats and plots that are missing, and there are payoffs that were not justified. That being said, it's an 8 out of 10 show for me. I mean, this is not bad at all. I loved it. My favorite character in the first season was Chase, all the way. Jace. My favorite character this season is, I would say, Powder, but it's a Jinx. I'm completely in love with Jinx now. Like that's just the thing I have to deal with for the rest of my life. Thank you, Riot. But I do think there is a way to bring her back, and let me talk about that. So like I said, they missed a lot of story beats, but they said they're not done with the series. So if they're being honest about that, maybe they could do little shorts or little vignettes, little music videos covering Isha and Jinx's relationship, covering Jinx and Echo's relationship and development after he comes and prevents her from self-deleting. That would be awesome, to have a lot of character development and show their relationship, maybe even show a romance, because he was lovelorn and sad at the end, not just for a friend, but he was heartbroken. So it would have been awesome to show them have that relationship and be boyfriend and girlfriend, or whatever in this reality is a relationship. Have them have that, and then show the lead up to the battle, and have them recruiting everyone on their side to come fight the battle and to save the day and to come in clutch, and to have it be where no one knew that she was coming in. She just comes in randomly as a chaos bringer. There's openings for that. And then, of course, we have the new Jinx. We have the new Powder that actually has all the tech and has the knowledge and the ability to create the tech. So there could be a new Jinx, which will be a happier Jinx. She has to get the superpowers first. She has to get the shimmer or whatever else. She needs to be able to be as fast as our Jinx. But yeah, so they have multiple outs for that. But they can do this for multiple characters. If they're not going to be doing series anymore, they're not going to be doing seasons anymore, they could do these little vignettes that fill in the gaps and expand the story and explain where characters are. I don't know if that's what they're going to do. And like I said, until they actually do anything, we have to play the ball where it lands. And right now, Jinx is dead. So that's too bad. I would rather her be alive. It was justified what they were doing, because we assumed that they were going to try to put all the characters where they are for the game. Once they decided not to do that and they decided to break lore, that meant that none of the endings were justified. And I think that's the biggest tragedy. I will rewatch it. Again, I'll rewatch it multiple times. I liked it. Like I said, 8 out of 10 for me. First season was a 10 out of 10. Good show. Not perfect. I loved it. I recommend you watch it. And go check out the Jinx rap video. That is amazing. Peace, like, and subscribe. Talk to y'all later. Bye.